It's Jay. Welcome to my channel. I'm Jay of All Trades, and if you're new here, just click that subscribe button and if you like what you see. Today is part 2 of my Nerdecrafter Super Not Another craft kit, and I'm going to show you how I took this mold, made a sculpture, and turned it into a beautiful piece of art. So without further ado, let's get to it. So today, this is part 2, and I'm going to be sculpting the mold from Nerdecrafter's Super Not Another craft kit. It's kind of like a horse shape, and you can make it into anything like a dragon. You've got fairy wings, dragon wings, and kind of like bat wings. So I'm going to move everything that I don't need right now, and I'll be right back. Alright, so this is everything I need right now. I'm going to take a look at the instruction manual, and we got the contents. Alright, so making your creature figure. Prep my workspace, which I did. Prepare the creature mold with the rubber bands. Don't skip this step. So, definitely not going to skip this step. It's already kind of rubber banded from the opening of the thing, but since it's brand new, so I'm going to go ahead and add some extra rubber bands to it. Looks like a lot of rubber bands were used. Okay, so make sure there's one around the legs here. Around the head to the legs. Around the neck. And around the bootay. Also need one going long ways, I believe. So that's as good as it's going to get for me. Tried to do it the best I could. Need one more around the legs, it looks like. Well, that one's already rubber banded, so I'm going to leave that like that. And do it this way so that it is secure. Make sure we have enough at the top to do that. Alright, so now that my mold is prepped, I'm going to go ahead and measure the plaster here. And it's already in a resealable bag. Look at all this dust. Okay. So, 200 milliliters. That would be to here. do not compact the powder, so I still need a little bit more. Yep, that does it. Let's dump that in. Get a powdered cloud. So I'm back. I'm going to wait for that to dry halfway. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill up the base here. Take my spatula and kind of smooth it around. I'm going to take the rest of this and fill up the wings. We're going to go with angel wings. And you totally didn't see what I did, but we went with angel wings. Now I'm going to go back to the stand here and try to get all the rest of this on there and smush it around so that it's nice and smooth. But I mean, even if it's clumpy and lumpy, I can still smooth it later with some sandpaper. Alright, so now I wait 1 hour to unmold half of it and then another hour to make sure it dries. Now we have a lot of humidity where I live, so that means that it might still be a little wet, so that's why you have to kind of open it up after an hour to let it fully dry. And I'll be back when it's done. Okay, so it's been an hour, and I've demolded the wings to let them kind of dry more. They turned out pretty well. And I've demolded the base. I'm going to have to sand that down a little bit when it dries fully. Now, let's see if we can just demold half of this to get it to finish drying the rest of the way. And while I'm doing this, my plans are actually to turn this into a Pegasus. And there's something special that I plan on doing with this Pegasus. So I will show you that when I'm ready to do all the sculpting. So all the rubber bands are removed. I'm going to hang on to those because there's only so many in the kit. This is the rubber bands that came on it in the kit. I'm also going to hold on to those. And let's see if we can demold half of this. So I've watched most of the videos, and I know I'm going to have to fix his head. I see that already. But I'm going to take off the edges here. Yeah, I lost part of his head, so I'm going to have to add some clay to that. But look at this. Just a few little bubbles, and it's perfect. And since my house and room are so humid, I'm going to let the rest of this sculpture dry. I can feel it's a little hot already, so I'm gonna let that dry, and I'll be back in a little bit. And my sculpture's all done drying. I'm gonna try to carefully remove it from the thing without breaking the legs. Oh, shoot. Oh well, I can glue that back on. But here it is in all its glory. Now that I have the basic mold completed, I'm starting off by following the unicorn tutorial that Jackie has provided with the kit. I start off with the face like she did, and make sure to add the clay adhesive every time I'm sticking the clay to the sculpture so that it bonds well. It also helps soften the clay when necessary. Now, because Jackie has a tutorial on this, I'm not going to go into as much detail as she has. I'm going to give off the Clip Notes version of me following the tutorial. Since the kit is no longer available, I'll link a video of her using her own kit in the description as well. It probably took me longer than the estimated 40 minutes to do this, as I don't have a whole lot of sculpting experience. That's the beauty of this kit, that between the supplies, user manual, and tutorials, it's very beginner friendly. As I'm following along, I'm starting off with the head, sculpting the facial features, the cheekbones, eyes, nose, and mouth. I'm using a combination of the tools and my fingers to smooth out the clay. Since I'm trying to make the horse look more innocent, I'm making a more rounded eye. I tried to make them as symmetrical as possible, but even I have difficulty with proportions with my sketches, so in 3D that's even more difficult to do. I slanted the brow line to make a more mystical horse, since I'll be turning it into a Pegasus at a later point. I have to actually do this twice because I kept messing up the eyes. Luckily, the clay is very forgiving, can just scrape it off and redo it as it won't harden much until it's baked. I continue to follow the tutorial for the ears. I tried to make them both the same size as well. Since I'm not making this a unicorn or an alicorn, I skip over making the horn and instead start on the mane and tail portion. I make several different snakes of clay at various lengths and stack them on top of the other until I reach the ears. I occasionally curl them at one point, at one end, to give the motion of the hair. We don't want flat hair. Not that there's anything wrong with flat, straight hair, just not for a horse. We want it to flow like she's flying through the wind. The tail I did with the same armature, with some armature wire so that it'll fit in the designated spot of the sculpture.
I bake it separately. Once it is done baking, I fix the broken leg with some glue and epoxy sculpt and continue on to the next step, which is painting. Painting should be something new of an experience since I'm using an airbrush for the first time. But before that happens, I fix the leg with some glue and epoxy sculpt, as I said before. Then I coat the sculpture in 3 layers of the chalk base coat so that the airbrush paint will stick to it. Waiting on each layer dry took what seemed like forever. I wanted to get to the fun stuff. Though if I hadn't put each layer on first or let it dry, the paint would come out all splotchy. Once again, I followed Nerdecrafter's instructions on how to set up the airbrush and paint. My mom's favorite color is purple, and the inspiration is purple as well. The kit came with purple already mixed up, so I didn't have to do that, which is nice. Now, setting up an airbrush for the first time was not very familiar for me. This is the first time I'm trying it, but that's why I'm Jay of all trades. I try new things so that I can become skillful in many different artsy techniques. The airbrush is once again beginner friendly. I used the box as a tent to catch all the remaining spray paint emitted from the airbrush. Airbrush was very easy, no big air compressor to deal with, which is nice because I don't like a lot of loud motor sounds because of sensory issues. It was simple to use. Once it was charged, it lasted the entirety of how many coats that I needed to paint. I also used the Lazy Susan from the kit to make sure that I could get an even coat on all sides of the sculpture. After it was dry, I used some of the remaining paint mixed with white to give her hood some gradient with a brush. while the paint dries, let me tell you a little bit about the inspiration for this horse. My mom loves carousel horses, so I want to turn this sculpture into a carousel horse. So I saw this horse on Etsy for sale over $2,000. Since I really can't afford it, I decided to make my mom one of her own. I don't have that kind of money. At least not until my channel gets more subscribers. So, hint hint, please subscribe so I can keep making nice things for my mom. It's a carousel Pegasus. The base has these ornate flowers and it's in silver. My mom likes gold, so I changed the colors up and the gold is opposite of purple on the color wheel. Because the carousel horse needs a saddle, I didn't sculpt one on. I used felt, paint, and pipe cleaner to make one and adhere it to the back of the horse. I also make a bridle out of ribbon and glue that onto the horse's face. I complete the saddle with some paint and glitter. After painting is complete, I can work on the stand and wings. I painted the base and wings that I used the remaining plaster for in a gold color with the airbrush paint as well. And now I can work on the stand. I'm making sure the wings and everything look alright before I start gluing things together. I take some skewers, some gold ribbon, and some fake flowers from my stash of craft supply to use on the base. Start by measuring and cutting the skewer to size. It wouldn't cut all the way with the sharp pointy thing, so I had to resort to scissors. I glue it to the base and secured it with some epoxy sculpt from Nerdecrafter's other kit. Then I wrapped some self-adhesive ribbon around the pole to make it more like one of those maypoles. After that half, I secure the horse to the pole and the base. I hot glue the top half of the pole to the saddle and sculpt a small bead for the top of the pole. I also wrap ribbon around the pole to match the bottom portion. Now the horse looks like she's skewered, but she's not complete yet. I'm adding flowers and a small bow to the base and the saddle, and then I can glue on the wings. Now that she's all completed, the stand and everything, the flowers are on, ta- we could take a look at the final results of my carousel Pegasus horse. I think she looks a little like the inspiration image, and maybe even better. My mom will love it. I wish I could make her a life-size one, but that project is a long, long time away in the future when I can afford it and can make that a reality for my mom today. Or maybe just buy her one for the $2,000 and repaint it. If that's something you'd like to see, then once again, subscribe.
And that's how I took the reference image of a carousel horse and turned it into this beautiful sculpture here. And it's a gift from my mom for her birthday. Her birthday is in June, so posting this a little late than that, but as you can see, we've got the wings, the mane here, and I've done a little bit of mixed media with the flowers and all the ribbon, and I still have to paint this part here, the little nub. I'm thinking about just replacing it with bead and see how that goes. But this is how it turned out, and my mom's gonna love it. Her favorite color is purple, of course. And I'd like to thank you for watching my Nerdecrafter video. And remember, whatever you do, create happiness.